In episode 95 of Coriander Society Adventures, John, Asena, Mireth, handmaiden to Princess Adthea, Dargan, and Chester all ventured into the forests outside the elven city of Fluris to retrieve a piece of the flesh of Kor. The way there was difficult and traumatizing, filled with horrifying visions of mutating flesh, rot, and corruption. Asena in particular kept seeing Princess Adthea, but mutated and twisted and something wrong with her. Eventually, they made their way to the very center, to the grove, where John had planted the flesh of Kor as part of an evil tree and left the dryad Benthazel to guard it in exchange for saving her long-lost love from a fate worse than death. Time had taken its toll on Benthazel. She was racked with pain and mental trauma, and our heroes busted in and attacked the tree, which unleashed a whole bunch of corrupted guardians. They were able to overcome them. Adthea unleashed some sort of screaming psychic attack in the middle of the battle that nobody really had a chance to analyze. Afterwards, when the heart of the tree burst forth and attacked them, Asena said Dargan could eat that. Turns out the flesh of Kor was inside of it. Dargan started saying some really scary stuff that didn't really sound like him. John made him puke it up. On their way home, safe and sound with Benthazel, taking her and the flesh of Kor back to the city of Fluris, they got a call from Paracelsus, an agent of the Coriander Society, and they've arranged a meeting next Tuesday at an interdimensional place called the Panopticon so that John can finally tell his side of the story. Welcome to Loriander. This is our first episode of the after show. That was the recap. That's a thing we're going to do from now on, so we can put it at the front of the next episode. Though I should probably like full screen myself for that one, but next time. Yeah, next time. So this is the part where I'm supposed to ask Matt how he's doing. Matt, how you doing?
Man,
that's great. Who cares? Pods, how you doing?
What?
Go ahead, Matt.
No, you're going to make Matt cry.
No, I'm doing okay. I got to take my daughter to the dentist for the first time. She rocked. I cried like a baby. But everything is going absolutely swimmingly. And I was so excited for us to get back to Coriander once more.
Hell yeah. Pods, what's new with you? What's going on? You've been doing have you been doing like traveling and going to things and doing stuff?
I've been invited to a couple influencer things. I got to go to like a Barbie beach house on Saturday. That was really cool. I have a thing coming up. I'll just say it here. You guys have to pretend you didn't hear about it because I do want to post it on social tomorrow. But on Friday, I get to host for Xbox. And I'm going to be hosting at the World of Barbie in Santa Monica. So we're going to be touring the World of Barbie, showing you guys, what's all there. And then we're going to be playing some Forza to show off. They have like a collaboration right now where Barbie's Corvette and Ken's Hummer are both in Forza right now. So you have to play that.
That's
but yeah,
fun.
if you want to watch that, it's going to be 9 a.m. on Friday at twitch.tv/Xbox.
And if you're following Pods on socials like you should be, this will all be announced there as well. I am absolutely, Mrs. Gnomes and I, we are absolutely going to go see that movie. It looks like a great movie.
Oh, it is so, like, every trailer I see, every interview I see is just, like, making me more hyped for it. Mm-hmm. I'm so excited.
Hell yeah. Okay, so we just finished episode 95. Bunch of stuff happened. I did my best to traumatize Pods, as you do. A bunch more stuff from the campaign that Matt and I played literally 10 years ago, literally a decade ago, came up with Benthazel and such.
So cool.
Before we do anything, I just want to say, Matt, any thoughts? I've got some like organized, structured stuff we're going to do, but first I just want to say, any thoughts about tonight?
I mean, Yes, absolutely. First of all, I don't get a lot of time to just talk about this kind of thing, but I just want to say it's kind of phenomenal to see all of the fun little just games that when I moved down to San Diego, that we would just kind of go, hey, you're not free, I'm busy, whatever, yada yada. Let's just play for a little bit, and we would just craft these stories about this dimensional wizard that was just running around doing one-on-one D&D, and all these crazy stories we came up with. We used like 4 different systems to play this character. There's been so many different versions of them, and to just see what you and I did when we were in our infancy of adulthood kind of come to fruition now under a new scope and under new friends. It's just really amazing to see what it's become. And I'm so excited that our quote unquote Carmichael Chronicles has turned into the Coriander Society, and we've added Positives of Sena, and it's just taken such a completely different turn than what it was. And I'm just seeing these characters kind of brought to life both on the screen and out of our hearts and brains, and just out there on social media and among the masses. It's a very fun thing.
It is cool. I get a kick out of it. I try to make sure that we don't put too much inaccessible old lore in there, but it's a kick. Pods.
Yeah.
Are you winning?
Winning? Winning what?
Yeah, the war against hair.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah. The struggle bus was real there for a second.
I was like, I should make this more straight, and then it went badly, so it's staying.
Oh shit. We're worried about straight right now.
Yeah, any quick thoughts on just the episode or anything? Again, this is your floors open moment. We're gonna do one of these every episode, so
I thought it was really cool. It was very spooky. Like I don't think we've had like a spooky episode in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Like all I can think of is like maybe at the beginning of like Ralzamon, when like Ralzamon was in my head, like that was really scary.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really cool to like be in that mindset again, and then also to like play with Asana and see like how she would react to such a thing. Yeah, so I think just like the whole vibes were like it was a different episode. It was like an action-packed episode, but we still had like a lot of storyline happening. So it was a really good one, I think.
Awesome. I've been trying to make it so that we'd have, I always joke about me playing with my action figures and setting up these enormous fights with 50 million different types of NPCs with all their different stat blocks. I am trying to either do less of that or make more story battle integration like a good GM does. I'm going to continue working on that. Next up,
actually, hopping off the back of what Oz was just saying, you would ask me about my review of the episode, and I just want to echo what Janessa was saying, in that really, I think for a while now, Coriander has been moving closer towards this more episodic kind of thing rather than a freeform sandbox. And I think this episode really showed the work you've been putting into it. I felt like we got a lot done. We didn't have any big stumbling moments. We went through an entire combat with a boss and a bunch of different enemies. We had an exploration mode. We had role play. We fit in all the 3 pillars all into one like 3-hour-ish long like chunk with one break in the middle. We covered a lot of ground. And for those of you playing at home, though Asana and I, or rather not Asana, Pods and I have some input on like what is happening, this is not a scripted show by any means. Joe comes up with everything. We have very little to no forward motion into what's going on, and so this is not a pace by pace thing like we're trying to hit marks and stuff. We have a general idea of what's going to be happening, and so this felt really tight by comparison to how things have been in the past, and I'm really excited to see how you're taking the story going forward.
Thank you. I'm trying. We're I don't remember if we've said this officially yet, but after episode 100, we are shaking things up. I think I've given spoilers on Hive, if you follow me on Hive. After episode 100, we're shaking things up. We're going to have a more focused show in general. One of the things I love about DMing is just letting the players do anything they want. Like, I like that wide open, total freedom, go in a completely different direction than I planned. But both Coriander Society and Ioth Academy are getting up there. Like, they're both getting towards triple digits. And that things tend to get hairy and branchy. And with my style of DMing, you end up with a million things going on. And like I'm not going to stop doing that. That's me, but definitely trimming things, like maybe not trimming things, but grabbing the topiary and wiring it so it grows more in a specific direction. I think it's going to make a better show and story for everybody. We had
it feels more like a tree than like a web.
Or like
we have the main branching
patch.
trunk. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also more like how I watch shows and content as well. I don't know how many of you, if you guys are this way, but I don't like to watch things in order. Matt learned this when he was like, have you watched Star Wars 1, 2, and 3? And I was like, no, I've only seen 4, or the opposite. He's like, have you seen 4, 5, 6? I was like, no, I've only seen 1, 2, 3, and then 7. Like, and he was appalled. But don't worry, I've fixed it by now. But I think the future of Coriander will be like more digestible and more like, we had somebody in chat today being like, oh, I don't want spoilers. I haven't watched Coriander in a long time. Like, I hope that with some good changes that we're making, people are just gonna be able to drop in whenever they have time. Yeah,
absolutely.
So we had a question.
Specific arcs with a little bit of that cool side content that we love to get lost in.
Yes. Okay. I lost track of when we actually started this episode, and we're of Loriander, and we're aiming for half an hour chunks. Again, super digestible. So I want to move on to a question we got from the community earlier for each of you, which is, what is your favorite Asana moment of the campaign? And I think you both will immediately understand what we mean when we say an Asana moment.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of them. I'm gonna go ahead and, just because I've already got one, I'm gonna start us off. My favorite absolute Asana moment was when we were going to be teleporting for the very first time. And you ended up dropping the whole okay, and every single time you've ever teleported, it's like, okay, Joe describes this very cool, this is how it feels, and then you're here one moment, gone the next, and you're somewhere else, and explains the sights, sounds, and smells of everything that takes place. And instead of that, he described that and then said, that's what you hear, Matt. Asana, this is what you are experiencing instead. That was such a huge, whoa. I feel like we're seeing a lot of DMs lately that are, you're very Tolkien-esque in the way that you love storytelling explanations, mate. We're seeing a lot more DMs that are trying to focus things not just on these big grand set pieces of dialogue and monologue. And a lot of times when I DM, I try and talk about camera angles and things. People are bringing cinema, and I see you doing a lot more of that as well. To me, that felt like such a cinematic moment where you, without even saying time slowed down, by the way that you described it, it made it feel like, boom, we had that slow-mo moment. And John, blink of an eye, but Asana was able to just have this one small moment extended into a huge possible decision. And when she just pulled the trigger on that, and that was one of the biggest things that cemented how Asana would be. It was one moment that just nailed down and concreted, this is who Asana is. And that, for me, is always going to stand out as, that was an oh shit moment, because we were going to go, I believe it was to Perianth. We were going to go to a different place. And instead we went to the Astral Sea. And that started a huge tangent of us always ending up in the Astral Sea. And I love it. It's great. It sets the tone for how I think Coriander has been going, and probably will continue to go.
All right, Pods, what's your favorite Asana moment?
Gosh, it's so hard because, okay, I have a lot of moments. Everything that I do in this campaign is my moment. But I think that, as with anyone's first true D&D character, a lot of their own personality comes through to Asana. So there's kind of two. The first one is I really like the moments where I solved something really creatively. And it was more out of I just blurted out the first thing that came to my mind instead of this really thought out process. So things like when we were in that channel and there was a boat.
Oh my God.
And I fused the boats together or something.
Yeah, it was in the middle of that whole thing with the ocean, with the tanker that got stuck.
The Evergreen. the reason why that happened was because it was like popular news that like the Evergreen got stuck in the Panama Canal, and so it was just like, okay, well, Asane is gonna fuse the boats to get him stuck. So yeah, I would love to say that I like plan those things out, and that Asane is just brilliant, but really just like real life influences art. But my favorite Asana moment was not even in the campaign, so it's not something people would know about. But Joe was there. It was in real life when we went to Dunkin' Donuts. Okay, so we went to Dunkin' Donuts and I ordered hash browns, and out of nowhere, like I got distracted and I just grabbed hash browns like from like the order delivery tray, and I just started eating them, and they were not my hash browns. And that's kind of like they were cold, and so I had to like kind of like put them away, and I like snuck them back onto the counter.
I remember this story. Oh gosh.
I'm not explaining it well, but like that's when we realized that like Janessa is Asana. Because it was like this IRL Asana moment of just like that was not my food, and I just grabbed it and started eating it.
Oh my god, I forgot. Like, that's so perfect. I forgot about that. That was lateral thinking about what constitutes an Asana moment, but it was absolutely an Asana moment.
Yeah,
we said
it's
that.
Just like they're meshing.
I have a question for you, Janessa.
Okay.
Since you've started playing Asana on the show, do you feel like those moments that you have that used to just be kind of quirks about you've really just nailed down as like, oh yeah, that's an Asana moment. Oh yeah, that's an Asana moment. And it's become a different part of like, either a different part of your personality, or you've realized like, oh yeah, that thing that I'm always portraying when I'm on the show, that's what I'm tapping into. And something that either was always there, or has it really just changed and developed even more so after you've been playing this character?
Yeah, I think I'm definitely more cognizant of what I'm doing. The beginner episodes, like I would say like the first 30 was really just like, I'm just going to blurt things out and like things are going to happen. And I've taken those moments and then started building on them. So like, you know, the whole idea of like her not understanding what's happening, like the phone, like she doesn't know how to use a phone. Those are now purposeful, but I think they started out really organic. And it also came from like, I have no idea how to play D&D. So it just like, it came from there, but now I do it on purpose.
I love how within the last, like, what has it been, 2 years, you went from being, I don't know how to play D&D, to now you've been on like a few different D&D shows. Like you were on D20 Deathmatch. You've been on, you know, Loriander here with us. You were on, gosh, what was that really cool one that you guys did, the Dungeon of the Damned?
Catacombs of the Damned. Catacombs of the Damned, yeah. The one we did on stage, and then we had a follow-up next year, yeah.
Yes, and then you had a follow-up
really cool.
with through Do Not Peek. Yeah, that's 4 different strange shows that you've been on.
I know, I don't think I get to say that I don't know how to play anymore.
Agreed.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just
but I still haven't played offline.
It's true, it's so
Not
weird.
yet.
We'll fix it.
I have
We'll
not
fix it.
played like not in a show.
I've been trying to set up meetings with you and Thomas so we could get together and do an offline game, but there's just, it's so
true.
busy. We're so busy. It's hard.
I know.
My favorite Asana moment is the origins of cut the bullshit and tell us what we want to know.
Yep, I knew you'd say that.
I mean, there's a reason it's your catchphrase card, right? It's iconic.
Exactly.
It was just such a great moment. The, you know, head first charging through things. A lot of the other moments that I love are moments that were more about gameplay, and I'm trying to really make this an Asana moment, right? Like you stealing the crown from Dream, from the Dream.
Oh,
that was cool. But was that an Asana moment? Partially. In chat, this question was raised in our Discord earlier. You can join our Discord. You look down below. And glow sticks and spoons were mentioned heavily. The obsession with the glow sticks and distributing the spoons. Like those little just completely off base diversions are some of the best stuff that comes out of this.
Yeah, and that's really just like, I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to look at my character sheet and be like, okay, I have a glow stick. Do something with it.
But that's great. That's great because it's always better to have that than just dead air, right?
Yeah.
and
Oh,
good
yeah.
stuff comes from it. So the creativity is hugely appreciated.
It's funny. I feel like all of the Asana moments have really had such an impact on the way that I play John. Like going into like how you were describing the first 30 episodes of how you were versus how you are now, going from it being like reactionary choices to now conscious choices. Originally, I had been going with John this very, oh no, I need to try and help guide these new cosmic adventurers and make sure that even though like Joes was saying, I knew a lot about this story because of all the time that we put into playing it, and now it's taken such a drastic turn that I have to be very careful because some of what I know is either wrong or very different, or I have to dance around like, oh yeah, I shouldn't know this, or oh wow, it's so different than how I was expecting. But just the way that I interact with even your character went from this very, oh no, I need to help kind of guide and mentor her and be there and help build them up, and now it's like a very just yes but or yes and. It's like I used to have John try to, well, maybe we shouldn't do that. So like, sure, you want to do that, fine. I'm tired of fighting against the waves and getting knocked down and dragged against the shore. Let's just go ahead and get a boogie board and ride this wave and see where it takes us, and we'll figure it out from there.
First 6 months of being a supervisor, everything afterwards being a supervisor. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's been great.
I definitely noticed that growth, and I think it's been fun too. Like John, I think from my perspective, John felt like sort of like accountable for Asana and did not want her to get hurt, and especially after like all of his other companions have like ended up in very bad situations.
Yeah.
But my favorite moment of like that switch was when we were at the sunken city, because there was just like a noticeable, you're like, fine, go down there, like well, let's go, actually that's a good idea, let's go. And like Asana was like, oh, this is weird, like maybe I shouldn't go.
that was a great moment.
Yeah.
I've absolutely been leaning more towards, no, let her do it. Or you know what, let's try it. And that was a definite, like, no, actually, I want to do it. Let's go on one of these crazy, let's go to the astral sea. Let's go to the bottom of the freaking abysmal ocean. Let's make that happen. That was great.
It's been fun.
So what's something each of you would like more of in the game, in the campaign?
Gosh, more of. So are you asking Matt? Are you asking John? Or are you asking the gremlin, the dice goblin in my brain that like needs shiny
The
things?
dice goblin?
This is me, the dungeon master, asking my players, doing a post-game check-in. Hey, what do you want more of? What do you want less of? So whatever answer between those three warring voices in your mind, whoever's the loudest or the truest, give me that. What's one thing you want more of in the game? You can say loot. You can say.
Yeah,
you want to start this one?
You can't think of anything?
Oh no, I've got it. I just didn't want to just
kidding,
trample over it.
He's alphabetizing it.
Exactly.
I want there to be more role play, but I think that I interpret that question as like, what can I improve on? And so obviously like Asana role play is there, but there's definitely times where like I will think of something in my head and then I'll just be like, and then Asana runs over there and then she jumps. Like just taking the easy way out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something that I definitely want to get better at, but it's difficile. So it's gotten better, but
and some of that's on me, right? You're working against all this backstory that Matt and I have from this campaign we played 10 years ago. All these characters who have a personal connection to John, but not to Asana. So some of that is on me, making sure that I create characters that are interesting to Asana or that will engage Asana or rub you the wrong way. And so there have been times where I've like tried to do that and then you didn't take it. Which, and again, going back to I can only think about what I want to improve. It was me thinking, okay, that didn't do it. What makes Asana tick? How can I make sure that these characters are engaging her personal development, her interests, her ideals, her ADD, whatever it happens to be.
Yeah, I feel that. But it's getting better, I think, on both parts. So What do you think, Matt?
I think I'm the other side of that coin, actually. I'm really glad that you brought it up. So again, now that we're all saying it, I wasn't going to jump on the what I could improve upon train, but since you both did it, I'll just kind of carry that gravy boat on. I feel like for me, I kind of agree with that. More role play. I love role play. I love rolling dice and doing ludicrous number damage. That's always fun. Or changing a scene based off of a really niche spell description or whatever. Those are always fun things to be able to do. But that's more so me versus Joe, which the more I play D&D, the less I want to screw over the dungeon master. It's always fun when it happens. I think that's a very it draws in attention. It's so cool to be able to have one of those
good content
moments. But I love when Joe can just sit back because you and I are either engaging about something and really like not just bantering about something and like filling airtime, but when you have an interest and I have an interest, it aligns and we're able to just really chew in on it. And I think one of the ways that happens is by having us go to places that John's not familiar with. Every single world we've been to is something that John has history and backstory with. And I've always felt like, this is me moving into the what I can improve upon. I always felt like I had to be like on top of it. I remember originally we had played this game for so long that I felt like I didn't deserve to be John anymore. Like we had built up John Carmichael between Joe and I to be such a cool character that I stopped wanting to play the game with him because I felt like every time I sat down, I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't clever enough. I wasn't charming enough. Like I didn't have the skills to be John the way we built him up in our minds. And so I was so worried coming into doing this idea that we had. And I felt like, okay, you got to be on top of it. So every time we would play, I was working so hard to try to earn being this character, especially considering we were bringing in so many known people between you, Beatdown, and all the guest stars we've had. And, you know, I'm just the schmuck that helps Joe write Anakra stuff, you know? So I felt like I obviously needed to bring in and show like, okay, we've got new people who are new to D&D. I have to show that I'm good at D&D. I have to show that I'm good at role-playing. I'm good at knowing rules and yada, yada, yada. And I felt like my improvement came that I could work on when I kind of just gave up needing to be 100% on top of it and good at the game. And I just kind of started letting myself just have fun with it. Kind of like how you, I think, were saying that you were just trying to have fun with it. And now you're at a point where you're like, I'm now getting good at the game. And I think that we've kind of reversed a little bit. You're going from this place of, I don't really know what to do. And now I'm taking it not more seriously, but I have the tools to be able to really drive in how I want this character to be. You're making active choices for how you want to say it to be. And I'm kind of going, I have to make sure every single thing I do is as good as possible to help my team and to help the stream. And now I'm just showing up and having fun with it and just going along with things and having a good time. And I think that we'll be able to get in that good place to having more of what we all want by going to these new amazing worlds that Joe and I have always talked about going to, but never made it to. And now the three of us can go there together and bring along fun and entertaining guest stars to make it that much more enriched.
I'm going to wait this time to make sure nobody else has anything to say. All right. So we are wrapping up. Looking forward to the future, my last question is, are there any characters that you miss?
Yeah, put me on the spot.
What was that?
I mean,
Where's the character? Where's the character list? Where did it go?
It's in the journal. Everything's in the Roll20 journal.
Roll20.
I didn't know there'd be a quiz.
I wish chat could see the journal because there's
so much in there.
Stuff in there.
I mean, I have a lot of characters that I miss. I think the go-to is, you know, both Matt and John miss Gaston. You know, that was how we started. That was the way we went into this. And it really, we had built up a dynamic between the three of us that, I mean, Janessa and I still have a really cool dynamic with John and Asena. It's definitely taken a bit of a turn that I've really enjoyed. But yeah, I would say that I miss having Gaston there. John definitely misses every single person that he lets down, I would say. When it comes to in roleplay question, there's a lot of John wants to save everybody, and so whenever he can't, it really hits him and thereby me. So Matt says Gaston, will specify and say Hara is the person that he misses the most.
Yeah, I was gonna say Hara as well, but I feel like that's also like a very obvious choice for Asena, because her and Hara really connected, especially over the whole dragon thing. So a less obvious choice, I think, would be Nancy Rain.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, I think there's still more to explore there, more, you know, definitely some things to tie up, but she was so cool. So there's my answer. Hara and Nancy Rain.
We'll have to fit in some Northport, because like one of our plans is to visit all these different worlds, right? But somewhere in there we got to fit in like going back to Northport to handle this plot line or that plot line, because there's people that we left behind. We can't just do new worlds all the time, so we'll make sure to work that
Traverse
in.
Town. We'll always make it back to Traverse Town, you know.
All right, well, that's gonna go ahead and wrap it up.
What's the character that you miss? You are all of them.
Damn.
I
Oof.
know. He has to play so many people.
Yeah, my brain is kind of full. that's
He
why.
doesn't miss any of them. They're all still in there with his.
You know, who's the character you don't miss the most? That might be a little easier than
The
who do you
cab
miss the
driver.
Pickle guy?
No, not the pickle guy. The cab driver.
The cab driver that we always would find and spend
Because-
inspiration on to make sure that we would screw them over.
Because like so every single time that comes up, I'm never ready. I'm never ready for the cab guy. And I have to be like, quick, what have I said? Because I say stuff. When I'm running games, I sometimes just say stuff, right? My spontaneous free form is some of my best work. But then I have to remember all the crap that I said. And so I have to like go, okay, what's the cabbie's personality? What's the cabbie's voice? What's the cabbie's backstory? I know he has a husband. I know that he gets terrorized by these people. Like, so not for any fault on the cabbie's part, but because every time that the cabbie comes up, I'm like, oh God, what nonsense did I say last time?
Dude, I totally know that pain because that's happened to me many times. And I feel like both Janessa and I have caught you out when you have a character that you don't do a lot, but you'll start talking about them and we'll bring up, hey, wait a minute, what about this? And you're like, oh, that's right. I forgot that I mentioned that thing that somehow the player stuck to and remembers that one little thing about this character that now completely changed this entire scene. And I have to work with it because I said it at one point.
Yep. You know, a good DM would stay on top of things, but an adequate DM can at least backtrack. There
are good DMs. They're all adequate. You can't keep track of everything. It's impossible. You have a life.
Nope. All right. I'm wrapping this up. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Every single week after the show, we're going to take your questions. We're going to do a recap. We're going to chat like this. So tune in next week. Join us on Discord and be sure to follow us on YouTube if you want to look through the past 95 episodes. We're working on some catch-up content, so you don't have to sit through, 300 hours, but do it anyways. And I think that's going to wrap it up for us. Thank you all, and case closed.